Ladies and gentlemen, you are live here on a Monday night. We're broadcasting before Raw. I'm your host, Larry Mormon. Thank you for, if you're tuning in live, this is my first live experience on the show, sending the show out to the airwaves, and I'm going to give this a whirl, if you will, and we're going to see what happens. So, right now I am broadcasting on Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Definitely, you'd have to be listening to this to, because it's live, quite frankly. It looks like it will be downloadable after I'm done here. I could be live up to 3 hours. Lord knows I am not going to be live for 3 hours. So, but I'm going to take this and run. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to post some stuff here on Facebook. That's facebook.com/more365, MOHR365. Let's see. And chat. Alright. Well, let's see if we can get some people going here. Alright, So I'm using this program here, Spreaker, and like I said, this is my first time going live. So that's it. I'm working without a net right now. The blood's running, the heart's pounding, left arm a little numb, but I think that's okay. But you know what? Let's take it and run. Last night, just about 24 hours ago, the 29th annual Survivor Series, the 25th anniversary of the dead man, The Undertaker, and thankfully the show went off without a hitch. Let's get right to it. Let's bring a little bit of the world into this, a little bit of the news of the day. Over the weekend, the group Anonymous is waging cyber war on ISIS. This group Anonymous who have gone out and technology speaking has disrupted a whole lot of business, people. They may have hit a country or two, but sometimes you have to side with your enemies to fight a common enemy. And they're going after ISIS. And quite frankly, the more the merrier. But in this hack, this breach that Anonymous did with ISIS, it turns out that there was some discussion about, recently with the attacks on Paris, there was some talk about possibly ISIS infiltrating Survivor Series. Now, all joking aside, they're just looking for a public place to do as much damage as possible, and the rumor was the Phillips Arena in Atlanta. So now later on, it was the FBI caught this, and this is all legit, meaning like it was taken for real. So the FBI looked into it, said there's no credible evidence actually of ISIS planning anything during Survivor Series, but precautions went into play. FBI, WWE, Phillips Arena, they all worked tremendously together to make sure the safety of the fans, safety of the wrestlers. And, they opened the doors early, they had heightened security, zero bag policy, and women weren't even allowed to bring purses into the arena. And, so that precaution was there. Which is good. I know someone who was at the Phillips Arena. They said that, it was more heightened, almost like going through a TSA terminal. But, listen, the safety factor was there, and that's all what it meant. But the show did go off without a hitch, I guess depending on who you're talking to as far as the outcome of the Survivor Series. But we will get into that in one moment. Again, right now, live for the world to hear, and I'm checking this out here. I wonder, could I see? know if I can see an actual count of who's in here, like who's in the room or anything. I mean, I guess no one is, because no one's chatting there in the old chat box, but they're away from me. No, I guess not. Well, there's only one way to do this, and that's off the cuff. All right, well, let's get right into it. Survivor Series, there's been 29 of them now in the books, and the show nowadays is a lot different than it was 29 years ago. I mean, the original concept of the Survivor Series really was to get a rematch for Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant from WrestleMania 3. Survivor Series is the second longest running pay-per-view for the WWE, started back in 1987, where teams of 5 strive to survive. And back then, now, the world was very much different in 1987 versus 2015. I personally, I know a lot of people are going to say I'm a WWE mark, which I'll be the first to admit I am, but this show is all about everything. WWE, TNA, ROH, New Japan, all of it, and everything in the middle. But back in 1987, up until really, 92. Survivor Series 92 was the first time they really broke from tradition, but we'll get into that in a moment. But there were just either 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination matches. You go in, and you battle until one team is completely eliminated. You were able to get away with that back then, because they would have maybe 5 matches on the card. 10 guys per match, 20 if it was a tag team, with tag teams in it. But you had bigger rosters back then. You can get away with it, and I really feel... I had this discussion with some people on Facebook yesterday, but I truly feel that everyone, me included, everyone in the world, our attention spans due to the internet, due to instant access to information, our attention spans can be, as it's, to paraphrase basketball, can be measured only in nanoseconds. No one really pays attention anymore, and I don't think you can get away with a 30-minute Survivor Series match nowadays. I mean, think about it. Back in the day, for a 3-hour pay-per-view, they were able to get away with double-digit matches, meaning more than 10 on a card, and still have like a 15-minute intermission, or even a 5-minute intermission for that matter. Intermission, period. You can't get away with that nowadays. These matches, the cards, the shows, they're over in a blink of an eye. But regardless, 92, they broke from the tradition, went to one-on-one matches. They had a couple of shortened Survivor Series matches. That's okay. It's okay to experiment. 93 went back to the format. And then the last few years, really you only get 1, maybe 2 traditional Survivor Series matches. But last night really was more about the tournament to crown a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. This all came about due to the injury of Seth Rollins during their European show. The original main event was Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. Over there in England, I believe it was England, Seth Rollins busted up his knee, took a bad spot there off the top, busted up his knee. He's out 4 to 6 months. So there's really no other choice but to strip him of the championship, which is a shame because, albeit going into this match, I still think he was going to drop the title anyway, but still, it's one thing to drop it in the ring. It's another thing to have it vacated or taken from you, especially with an injury. I mean, that just stinks by itself. So, but nevertheless, title was stripped, so they came up with a tournament to crown a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. It was a tournament of 16. I personally think they could have gotten away with doing 3 rounds, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals that night. But again, it goes back to the whole, kind of people paying attention, keeping track of what's happening during the night and fitting it all into a 3-hour show. But nevertheless, Started with 16, and then on Raw and SmackDown, made their way down to 8, and then on Raw, made its way down to the Final Four. The Final Four going into last night was Dean Ambrose versus the Intercontinental Champion, Kevin Owens, and then Roman Reigns taking on the United States Champion, Alberto Del Rio. I thought it would have been, and I think it probably would have been a better match, in my opinion, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Personally, I would like to have seen Kevin Owens win the title, but this past summer they already had a dual champion. Seth Rollins had the U.S. title and the WWE title, so I guess really going into it, you figure that Del Rio and Kevin Owens were not gonna be the champion, but at least maybe make it to the finals. But be that as it may, it ended up being Reigns and Ambrose, the two best friends, going one-on-one for the championship. All three of these matches during the title tournament, I thought were really good. I thought Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose was phenomenal of the three, but in the end, it turned out to be Roman Reigns taking on Dean Ambrose. Now, we'll get into that in a few moments. The other big hype that's been for the last month has been the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker. The Dead Man debuted 25 years ago to the day, November 22nd, 1990, as part of the $1 Million Team. It was his debut. No one's seen him before, except for a couple people at a dark match TV tapings that never really aired. But he was Mean Mark Callis in WCW before he showed up, or just Mean Mark. I guess near the end of the run there, and coming over to WWE, was given the gimmick of The Undertaker. This dead man walking. First, he was accompanied to the ring by Brother Love, which was always an odd pairing, but that didn't last long, as we all know. But with the debut, he was completely different than any other gimmick you've seen up till then. He was slow. He was methodical. He was always moving forward, and he never sold, which I think was the biggest thing, especially during the 90s. 1990, we're just coming out of the 80s crying. Undertaker never sold. He would get knocked down. He would just sit right up and keep coming after you. He only did a handful of moves, really. chokes, a couple of, big ham hocks to the back of the neck, vintage walking the rope, dropping the arm on you, and then tombstone pile driver and call it a day. But with that, you hit him and he never sold. He was impervious to pain. He would slow down a little bit, but he was pretty much impervious, and that was wild. Watching as a 10-year-old, seeing that come about, but who knew that 25 years later he would still be around and we'd be celebrating this milestone, this quarter of a century. But he was able to evolve. I mean, let's think about it. Over the 25 years, he was, the Dead Man. He was the Undertaker. He was American Badass. He went back to the Undertaker. He was a phenom. Only the Undertaker could do that. And in honor of the 25th anniversary, which I was fine with, in the end, it was a tag match. The Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane, taking on two members of the Wyatt family. I think this was a perfect opportunity to make a Survivor Series match out of it, 4-on-4. Undertaker, Kane, and two other guys. I don't even know who those other two guys could be. That's the problem. Taking on all four members of the Wyatts. But be that as it may, it was kind of like elimination. Eric Rowan came in, got double choke slammed. He was out. The match ended up being Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. At one point, Braun Strowman was double choke slammed through the announce table, so that was kind of like an elimination. So they had those elements in the match, but the match itself was just a match. It wasn't anything spectacular. Undertaker had a tremendous entrance, giant coffin was lowered from the ceiling and kind of didn't play, but showed different images of the Dead Man. No, I didn't see any American Badass Undertaker, but just the Phenom, the Dead Man, and the change in his gimmick over the 25 years. So his entrance was pretty spectacular. The match itself was just a regular tag match, really nothing special. They picked up the win. Undertaker picked up the win, pinning Tombstoning, and then pinning Luke Harper. I feel that WrestleMania 32 is going to be his last match, period. In my opinion, again, this show, no spoilers. Who's he going to take on? I don't know. Sting was always talked about, but with his injury at Night of Champions, who knows if we'll ever see Sting back in the ring. At this point, who could he take on? The only person I'm thinking of that The Undertaker, that's worthy enough for a WrestleMania match, whether you like him or not, would be Undertaker versus John Cena. But we're months away from WrestleMania 32 at AT&T Stadium in Dallas in April. So we'll cross that path when we get to it a little bit further on. A couple other matches. They did have a tradition. They had a Survivor Series match on the pre-show, but meh. They did have a traditional Survivor Series match on the pay-per-view itself. And, well, actually, you know what? Let's go back to the pre-show because the traditional Survivor Series match on the pre-show actually had the return of Goldust. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a one-shot deal, kind of like Jericho has done, or if he's going to be back, regular. We'll find out tonight, I guess, on Raw. But Stardust was on the other side of the match, so them two actually started the match and squared off. Now, for years, I know Goldust has been pushing for Goldust versus, Cody Rhodes, and now Stardust at WrestleMania. I think it would be perfect. Goldust versus Stardust at WrestleMania. Don't put it on the pre-show. There's 4 hours. Put it on WrestleMania. Again, we shall see. But that match, was, again, a traditional Survivor Series match. Consisted of King Barrett, Sheamus, and all three members of the New Day against the Usos, the Lucha Dragons, and Neville. The survivors were... No, not Neville. Hold on. Wait. No, was it Neville? Who was it? Neville, I think, was on the... Neville was on the opening card. And he was the only one eliminated from his match, which kind of stunk. But, whatever. Hold on. I gotta go back now and... Let's double check this, shall we? You would think I'd write this down, but I did not. Alrighty. Well, let's do this. We're live, folks, and this is what happens when you're live. Won't lie, last night, nothing to do with the show. I can't stay up late anymore to watch this stuff. And I will admit, I fell asleep. Not because of the pay-per-view. Pay-per-view was fun. I just can't stay up. Plus, I've been sick, so that's not helping any. But, let's see. What am I missing here? And where are the matches? Okay, that's right. My bad. It was the Usos, the Lucha Dragons, and Ryback against the New Day, Sheamus, and King Barrett. The survivors were Ryback, Kalisto, and Jey Uso, which was nice to see, kind of half the tag teams being eliminated. The only thing I didn't like, though, was after Big E was eliminated, Kofi and Xavier just left, leaving Sheamus to himself. So that was kind of a cheap way to get people eliminated. Whatever. So we also had another match here, Tyler Breeze versus Dolph Ziggler. That was a match I ended up falling asleep to. And then it was funny, I woke up then right at the beginning of The Undertaker's entrance. Nothing against Tyler Breeze, nothing against Dolph Ziggler. It was 10 o'clock at night. I've been sick as a dog this weekend. Actually, it was week. So I just couldn't do it. So no offense to you guys. I will go back. I will watch your match. I didn't see that one. I woke up at the very end for a moment to see Tyler Breeze had won, zonked out again, and then woke up for The Undertaker. Another big match of the night was Charlotte against Paige for the Divas Championship. Now, let's bring it back a little bit. Let's bring it back to the previous Monday. Big controversy. that had happened with the Divas match. During the contract signing, long story short, everyone I'm sure has heard about it. During the Paige Charlotte contract signing, Charlotte brought up her late brother Reed. Reed had died about 3 years ago. Maybe 2 to 3 years ago. And then Paige used that in her promo to get at Charlotte. And I can't speak for the Flair family. You can check out Ric Flair's most recent podcast. He does touch on that. He does speak about it. Personally, I feel that in this wacky world of professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, as long as you get okay of the family, these real moments, I think, are fine to mention. They did it with Eddie Guerrero. They've done it with, there was another time, I'm trying to remember, someone passed away. Eddie Guerrero, though, they used it. It was like a week, 2 weeks after he passed away. No, a little longer than that. Eddie passed in November. This was probably February, yeah, because Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio, and Orton was trying to get Mysterio to a match. Randy Orton talking about how Eddie's not up in heaven, he's down in hell. But that's a wrestling family, the Guerreros. The Flairs, okay, not as much a wrestling family. You got Ric Flair. David was in WCW. Charlotte's there now. I know Reed was training to become a pro wrestler, but apparently Flair had no indication, no heads up that this was going to happen. Reed's mother had zero idea about it happening. But I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. Check out Ric Flair's podcast, his most recent podcast, where he does talk about that incident on Raw. In any event, it led to a tremendous Divas match, one of the best Divas matches I've seen on WWE. Now, NXT has been blowing the roof off Full Sail University, the Barclays Center, wherever they've been, with Divas matches. But WWE, not so much. But this, over the weekend, with Paige and Charlotte, they went at it tooth and nail. I mean, they went hard at each other, which is good. It's about time to see that. Two, women who were brought up, wrestling's in their blood, in their DNA. So, long story short, Charlotte walked out, still the Divas champion, and we'll see where it takes her moving forward, especially with the next pay-per-view, TLC. The finals, though, let's get right to the finals. Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This was a straightforward match. It is what it is. These guys just fought tooth and nail. A lot of really good false finishes. Everyone hitting their finishes, kicking out. But at the end of the day, there can only be one winner. And it was Roman Reigns, who finally, after 11 months of going after this championship, beat Dean Ambrose clean and out of nowhere. And I love these out of nowhere finishers. Like, Dean was just going for a regular move when he bounces off the corner, and Roman just, bam, hit him with the spear. That was it. 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns, for the first time in his career, is the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Can't get bigger than that, especially with the family that Roman Reigns comes from. I mean, The Rock, Yokozuna. He can add his name to the list. Peter Maivia, Rocky Johnson. But specifically with championships, the Usos, they're all related. So, Roman won the Rumble, got booed out of the building, went on to WrestleMania, got booed, but that's where Seth Rollins cashed in Money in the Bank, took the title from him. And then Roman Reigns was about to grab Money in the Bank this year. That's when Bray Wyatt knocked him off the ladder and led to their feud for a few months. And then now finally Roman going through the tournament because he would not take a bye to the finals from Triple H. He said he was going to do it and do it on his own, and he did. And that's when Sheamus came out, bro kicks Roman Reigns, cashes in the Money in the Bank. And yes, when the night was over, it was Sheamus who walked out for the 4th time in his career, WWE World Heavyweight Champion. If you missed the Survivor Series, but you saw SummerSlam 2013, then you know exactly what was happening, because it's the whole situation between the Authority and Daniel Bryan all over again. Daniel Bryan pinned John Cena, won the title. Randy Orton came out, cashed in Money in the Bank. Of course, Triple H turned on Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns speared Triple H and left him out of the ring, but Sheamus came in from behind, and actually was 2 bro kicks later, and won the title, and I guess now Sheamus is part of the Authority. Again, it's mirror image of the Daniel Bryan angle. So we'll see where it goes with this. But as we go into Monday Night Raw tonight, Sheamus is your reigning and defending WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I can only assume that Roman Reigns and Sheamus will meet at TLC. I imagine probably in a TLC match. Why not? Might as well make them the main event. But we'll see. You know, with Orton out of action, with Cena out of action, with Bryan out of action, with Rollins out of action, this kind of opens up here for some more guys to really start stepping it up. But it was nice to see, with the semifinals and the finals, 3 of the 4, Reigns, Ambrose, and Kevin Owens, coming from NXT. And then the Survivor Series finale was essentially guys from NXT. So it was nice to see that. And it's nice to see NXT really stepping up the game. Not only that, Dean Ambrose, a former Combat Zone Wrestling World Champion. Kevin Owens is a former Ring of Honor Champion. And, these guys from the quote-unquote indies finally making it to the big time, that says a lot. Now, 2 of the 3 members of the Shield have now been, because, Reigns, as much as he was only champion for about 35 seconds, well, longer than that, let's say 2 minutes. He's still champion. Rollins was champion, so this leaves now Dean Ambrose. And I hope one day Dean Ambrose also becomes the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, because he deserves it as well. But right now, the Celtic Warrior Sheamus is in charge of the action, and Sheamus will be champion for as long as the Authority wants. So let's see what happens leading into TLC. Hopefully some of you listen to this live, but if not, hopefully you're downloading it on demand through iTunes, and follow me everywhere on social media at More365, MOHR365. Have a good one, everybody.